Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So we are finishing up the tail feathers that are in this pass. Yeah, I think this is sort of like the last one. We're coming close to it. I'm looking at the mock-up. Yeah, there's sort of like one big one here that I'm going to be working on, and maybe one more, and then we're going to be into the garden wall after that. Because yeah, there's the vines coming up here is right where the edge of the tail is showing up. So yeah, hard to believe we are getting close to the end of this pass. We are, yeah, I would say probably around 3/4 of the way through here. My goodness, pardon me. Did not sleep so well last night. Yeah, I used my phone to play brown noise, and last night, for some reason, because I listened to one video sort of before that's a ASMR video, and then it switches over to brown noise afterwards. And when it went to switch over, it crashed and wouldn't play. So I was almost asleep, and then I had to, yeah, it wouldn't work until I actually completely rebooted my phone. So of course by the time I got that done, I was awake again. So yeah, I was not a happy camper. Oh well, these things happen. Yeah, we're due to finally get some hot summer weather soon. Not that I've been hoping for that. I actually like it when it's quite mild, but yeah, we're looking to get into the 30s. That's Celsius, because yeah, 30s Fahrenheit is still cold. I said I often think that's why a lot of people in the US think Canada's even colder than it is, because we measure in Celsius. And so, you know, they'll see at the height of summer that, oh my gosh, it's only 40 degrees up there. Well, yeah, 40 degrees Celsius is roasting. That's like over 100 degrees. Yeah, for you all who use Fahrenheit. So, yeah. Fortunately, we do not get that hot very often. At least not where I live. Yeah, my husband, he spent some time in Ontario when he was on basic training for military, and he said, yeah, it gets ruddy hot there and it's humid. So, yeah, you really feel it. Yeah, I've never been out that far east. The furthest I've been is Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Yeah, one day I wouldn't mind traveling across the country. My sister did that for a gap year after high school. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that one day. But I don't know, I mean, these days with gas prices as they are, yeah, it's a lot more expensive than when she did it, which was in, you know, very early 2000s. Yeah, saying about the weather, we got rained on for Canada Day, which was July 1st. But the show went on and they had the fireworks anyway, so yeah, we got our lawn chairs and our umbrellas and we went out to see it. So yeah, it was nice because there's been a couple of years in the last few that they had to cancel it due to, like, there was a fire ban, and obviously fireworks is a no-go when everything is tinder dry. Yeah, it's too easy for that to start a fire. So So yeah, I apologize in advance. I am probably going to yawn a lot. I may not be quite as talkative today. So there's going to be kind of a mixture here of some confetti and some bigger blocks. So yeah, there's sort of a fair amount of color changes here, and I'm probably going to cut that off here and sort of keep adding because the colors are sort of almost making stripes that way. So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to be following for the next little bit. Okay. Huh. Yeah, once again, just following the colors and the way they move. Yeah, I posted a progress picture in Karen the Needlebug's Facebook group saying, well, I'm not really stitching diagonally anymore, but here is my my progress. You know, she said, oh, you know, why did you abandon diagonal stitching? And I said, yeah, well, the way the peacock's standing, all the colors are going the opposite way, and I got tired of fighting it. And she said, yeah, the pieces tell us how they want to be stitched, you know. It's like, yep, that's true. I often say I let the colors tell me what to do. They guide me, so. Okay, so I'm gonna just that's not thunder you're hearing. That's the neighbor bringing in their garbage cans. I always mistake it for that, though. But yeah, I've been saying at least one nice thing is we haven't had smoke this year. The wildfires have not been bad this year, so even when it gets hot, we can open the windows and cool it down at night, which is nice. Yeah, last year was really bad. Oh, goodness. Yeah, these sort of scales on the feathers are really going quite sideways at the moment. Oh, I didn't think far ahead. I should have done one more stitch of that other color, but oh well. I will work around it. Okay, 9:34. Yeah, so summer, it's time to make summer kind of foods. Cord on the cob. Yeah, the stuff we get here, though, is never quite as good as what I had growing up in BC. Yeah, when we lived in the Fraser Valley, you could get corn that had been picked that morning. It was so good. Here they have to import it basically, so yeah. It is good, but never quite as good. I was spoiled. Yeah, today I made Greek salad. Yeah, it's funny, my kiddo, he's quite picky with some foods, but that was one he liked immediately. Wasn't sure if he would. I remember I was making it. He was like 2 or something, and he came in the kitchen to mooch, and I gave him a piece of feta cheese thinking he probably won't like it, and yeah, he loved it. And then later when I was putting the Greek salad in the fridge, I turned around and he's licking the bits of feta cheese off the cutting board. So yeah, he liked it. It was definitely a good way to get some vegetables into him. Well, he doesn't like cooked vegetables generally. He says they're too mushy, but he will eat raw ones, so there's that at least. Yeah, I say he doesn't have a huge variety in his diet, but he has enough that he covers all his food groups, so we're good. Okay, so now I get to do a bunch in a row. So yeah, I can kind of see there's sort of another feather going to start forming here, or scale, I think. Either that or it might be the wall. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think actually that might be the beginning of the wall showing up. Or it might be the edge of another feather, I'm not sure. Maybe sort of the last one. Actually, yeah, I think that's probably right. So I'm going to fill in sort of this area here, and then I will fill in there and carry on downwards. So yeah. I said I stitched diagonally, then I stitched diagonal-ish, and now I'm not really stitching diagonally at all. I mean, I guess in a way it is kind of almost going diagonally the other way. Yeah, it will be time to move my frame again soon. Yeah, because we're at line 410 is here, and we're 550 wide, so yeah. So that's about, let's see, 75% of the way across, so. Yeah, well, because I don't work in strict boxes, it can't really get a precise number. But yeah, I find if you work in strict boxes, there is a greater risk of having lines show up in your work, which you do not want. Oh, I had it right the first time. Yeah, so there's a sort of curve going this way, I'm going to kind of follow it, and then I'll fill that in later. Like I say, I kind of like to make my breaks at the color changes. That makes it easier. I sort of have fewer threads to juggle then, fewer live needles, so hopefully fewer tangles at least. That is the general idea. Oh dear. Caught it around my finger on the back there, so I unthreaded it by accident. Goodness, sorry, I don't know why it's being squeaky like that. I'm not a fan of that kind of noise. Okay. So yeah, as like I said, you can see it's curving there. And that's what I'm going to follow with this. Perfect. Got some little pieces to use up. Oh, very little, just barely long enough. So yeah, a little bit of closing in here, as you can see. I'm making that less of a big deal. Yeah, I've been enjoying stitching the peacock's tail. That's my favorite part, although I do enjoy the whole thing. Yeah. I enjoy having a finished piece, but I also enjoy the journey it takes to get there. Yeah, it was interesting because I remember reading there saying that some people find traditional meditating hard, which I definitely do. Brain is always going 100 miles an hour, but they said that hobbies like this are actually could be considered a form of meditation. I'm like, okay, so that's why I like doing this and like knitting, and yeah. They said, yeah, the rhythmic nature of it can sort of help to calm your mind and sort of focus your thoughts a bit without it being sort of the pressure to, you know, to focus on something, because yeah, I don't do well with that. Like I said, as soon as they're like, concentrate on your breathing, I'm like, and now I'm hyperventilating. Yeah. Yeah, focus on your thoughts, me. What are thoughts? Thoughts are weird. Oh, I'm not supposed to be thinking thoughts, right? I'm supposed to be clearing my mind. Can people do that? Yeah, it's just like, yeah. Yeah, it was interesting because there was a group that they were talking about whether you have an inner monologue in your head, because I always do. And that I asked my husband, who speaks English and Hungarian fluently, what language he thinks in, and he said he doesn't think in words. And that was sort of the first I've ever heard of it. And yeah, and I was talking about that, and they said, yeah, apparently people who speak more than one language fluently, not just, but not just dabble or whatever, but yeah, said that they are less likely to have an inner monologue than people who only speak one language, which was like, fascinating. Yeah. Because I mean, I have a little bit of French from having to study it in school, but not much. So I definitely don't think in French, that's for sure. Yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't be called fluent by any stretch of the imagination. So, like I often say, I can generally pick up about a third of it. So enough that I can get the gist of what someone is saying, but yeah, not much more than that. I certainly can't speak it. Speaking it is the hardest part, I think. Because, yeah, to read it or listen to it, you don't have to understand every single word. But when you're trying to speak it, you kind of need to know all the words, kind of thing, right? So, yeah. Yeah, if you can get sort of a quarter to a third of the words, your brain can kind of fill in the gaps. But yeah, when you're speaking it, you can't really fill in the gaps very easily. Yeah, or it was interesting. I remember talking to a friend who was fluent in English and Spanish, and I said, is it spoken faster or is it the same? He said, no, it's the same. It's just, it seems faster when you can't understand it, which makes sense. Yeah. Like if your brain can grasp a word or two, it's sort of stuck there and the person's already speaking the next word. Yeah. It seems to be coming at you a lot quicker than if you understand it. Although it does depend, because the place I use for lessons, my husband said they do speak a bit faster than he and his family do. So, not a lot, but like enough that it was noticeable. Yeah. Yeah, I think we have, yeah, this is going to be one more blue bit there. I know, because I recognize those solid circles are like a navy blue, so I think this is sort of like one of the last little eye motifs. There's going to be one more way at the bottom later of this pass. Yeah, and then we will be done with the tail and on to the wall. And I don't think there's much vines this time. No, there's a teeny bit of the purple at the top of this pass here, and there's some purple flowers in the corner there, but not much vines this time. It will be window and then some flowers, and then we'll be done. Another pass, and that will be 4 down, 5 to go, right? Yes. So yeah, I could sort of work from the top down, but I'm going to sort of work here in this area and sort of add on layers, work my way up. That's just what feels the most natural to me for this part anyway. Okay. Oh, goodness. Keep mixing up my move and my markup buttons there. Okay, there we go. Goodness. Needle does not want to cooperate with me today. It keeps trying to pierce the fabric in the wrong place and disturb the threads that are already there. Goodness, I have two sizes of this snag tool. There, yeah. Goodness, you're just being, there we go. I generally use the bigger one on the 14 count and the smaller one on 18 count, but yeah, sometimes even on the 14 count I need to use the smaller one. It can just get a little tricky. 46, okay. Okay, I will actually carry this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just doing a cross check with my grid lines there to make sure I was parking it correctly. Like I say, it's still within that inch and it will soon be stitching over it. So that will anchor it down. Okay. Oh yeah, I did not start at 0 this morning and I completely forgot to double check what number I was at when I started, so I have no idea. Yeah, usually I do my filming at the beginning of my stitching time, but today I was waiting for the light to come up because, yeah, it was a little dark and gloomy this morning. I was worried that the lack of light would would affect the filming. I don't want things to be blurry. Yeah, when it's a really overcast day, even with all my drapes open and stuff, it can still be hard to get enough light. And my crafting lamp on, but still. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I just realized I am in the wrong spot. I was on the wrong side of the grid line there. Was not paying close enough attention yet. Needs to be right there. Don't know why I went on the other side, but luckily I found it before I had secured it. I find sort of once I pull this loop to the back, yeah, undoing it can be really, really tricky at that point. I have managed to do it before, but yeah, it's not been fun. It's a short piece, so I'm not going to leave it threaded for the moment. Okay. So, go up a bit and work my way down. I did say I was going to work my way up, but I changed my mind. I do that sometimes. Yeah, sometimes while I'm stitching, I will see a better way than what my original plan was, and I will just adjust accordingly then. Yeah, so I did these because that way I can start those filled in circle pieces without leaving a gap. Okay, and this color kind of has other colors working around it, so I may decide to do 2 threads, or I may not. It sort of depends. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I usually like to work from the right side in towards the left and back, but I'm going to instead work the other way and work from the left side towards the right. To me, that just makes a bit more sense with the way these colors are shaped in this area. So yeah, I was just saying, if we didn't have to do any renos this month, and I could do my normal amount of stitching, I would probably reach 45% by the end of July, but that is probably not going to happen, as yeah, I will be missing some time to that. Okay, so just making sure I'm correct here. I try to sort of just double check before I pull that loop to the back that I'm actually where I'm supposed to be. I apologize for all the background noise. It's garbage day. I might have been having a hard time emptying ours too. We just pruned our big apple tree, so there was some big branches in that yeah, in that bin. We did break them up and stuff, but yeah, might have been hard to empty the whole thing out, so you might have had to shake it a bit. Yeah, that big apple tree, it's still hanging on, although more than half of it is gone. There's about a third of what the original tree is left now because it's, like I said, it's rotted through from a fungal infection on it, and it's got to be close to 50 years old, which is about how long that variety lives. So, but yeah, we said we're keeping it until it's completely done. Still produces a fair number of apples, so. But yeah, we planted a second one in 2014, and it finally started producing a couple of years ago. And it's looking good and healthy because it was producing the great big baseball-sized apples, so yeah. And we let the old one kind of get overgrown because we didn't really know anything about owning a fruit tree when we bought the house in 2006. So the old one kind of got overgrown and way too tall. And so we're trying to keep on top of this one and keep it pruned so that it won't be so high and hard to pick the apples off it. So yeah, trying to keep it healthy and all that. So we'll see how successful we are. But I said, yeah, it wasn't much. It was like 50 bucks. I found it at the hardware store. And yeah, they're really hardy trees. It's a Goodland, which were specifically bred for like Canadian prairie winters, which are really harsh. So yeah, it's a nice, crisp, tart apple, which yeah, I like because then I don't like them to be too sweet when you want to bake and stuff with them. Yeah, I like them to be a little bit sour. And then you can kind of adjust the sweetness to your own taste. So yeah, we got to finish up our old stock. We got about 15 liters left. We gave a lot of it away. Yeah, in fact, when my father-in-law and a couple of my husband's siblings came out for my niece's wedding, yeah, I sent them back each home with a box of juice and jam. So they each got 4 bottles of the apple juice concentrate and a pint jar of blueberry apple jam. So yeah, they were quite happy. Yeah, and I always say, you know, I'll get the jars one day, but it's not a big deal because I have so many now. I must have like 200 1-liter jars because I bought a bunch, and then one of my friends was cleaning out her late grandmother's place, and she found tons of jars in the basement, and she said, well, you're the only person I know who really does home canning. Do you want them, or I'll take them to the thrift store? I'm like, oh, I'll take them, you know, free jars, who could say no? So yeah, we had to get rid of, there were about 30 of them because my husband got these special what do you call them, flashlights that are meant to test for heavy metals, these special lights. So we found there were a few of the vintage jars that they had lead in them. So my husband's using those to either like keep nails or oil or whatever in, and I've used a couple for non-food storage of things, you know, pens and pencils or whatever. And then yeah, because I said I didn't want to donate them to the thrift store because somebody else might buy them not realizing that they're not really food safe. Yeah, so because yeah, I didn't even realize till somebody mentioned some of the old vintage jars you have to be careful because they they might contain lead because they're like over 100 years old. So, yeah. It was wild though, because then we went through and discovered a bunch of our drinking glasses had lead in them. And so I went to buy some new ones, and I bought a box that actually said lead free. So brought them home. My husband tests them with the, with the lead one, and yeah, they still have lead in them. I'm like, well, silly me for expecting something marketed as lead free to be free of lead. I guess maybe it's like if it's below a certain level, they're allowed to say lead free, even though technically there's a little bit, but yeah. I ended up returning them. Yeah, unfortunately, they said the lead makes it easier to shape the glass, but yeah, that's fine for if it's not food stuff. If you're just making like a glass plate for displaying something, that would be fine. But yeah, you don't want to be canning food or whatever in a glass that has lead. So yeah, there were a few that had uranium in it, and there was one other heavy metal. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah. Yeah, I had a feeling that was not going to stay. Try not to sew down other threads there. We don't want to do that. Yeah, when it's that short, I don't leave them threaded because there's really not much point. They won't stay. The needles will not stay on the thread. There we go. So yeah, we're going to form sort of a little bit of an inlet here, but I'm not worried about that. Finish this eye bit, and then I'm going to start filling in above it. But yeah, this way I'm only dealing with about 4 or 5 live threads that are actually being stitched at a time, so that reduces my chance of tangles. Oh, that was no good. Yeah, that was way off. Like almost the center of the square above that stitch. That would have been very odd looking. I find too, sometimes when it's a lighter color, you can kind of get away with it more and fudge it, but yeah, if it's a dark color like this on light colored fabric, that is not going to happen. Sure I wasn't off there. So like I said, I'll fill in this here, and then I will probably fill in this feather here. So that's what I could decide to do. I could decide to continue to stitch down this way and then stitch along here, or I could stitch here. I actually might change my mind about that too. We'll see. So I'll take a look. Because now that I think about it, oh, there we go. Didn't have my needle close enough to the end of the thread there. That would be no good because then it can get stuck. And then it's like you're stitching with 4 strands instead of 2, which would not work. Okay, so I'm just going to take a peek here. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I can see that this band of color here just sort of keeps going all the way down around this sort of feather motif there. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start filling in this bit here, and then I'll do sort of a whole swath in a row there. So yeah, like I said, I plan ahead a bit, but then sometimes I change the plan on the fly. I stitch by the seat of my pants. So yeah, we're over 130, but like I said, I totally forgot to look at what number I was starting at when I began this session, so I have no idea how many I've done during it. Well, I like to stitch with y'all for about an hour, because I find sort of after that I have to get up and stretch and get my circulation going again. How long is this piece? Yeah, not very. Just trying to see if it would be worth carrying back up around this blue area here, but no, it's not really. So I'm just going to tie it off. Oh, there's enough left that I can do some single stitches with these, so I will save them. Those always show up at some point. Yeah, there's been a fair amount of color changes here, so haven't been able to do quite as many stitches as I might normally. But those high detail areas, while they can be a pain to stitch them, yeah, they definitely, in the end, are worth the work. Now this one is long enough that I'm going to carry it up to do stitches on the other side of this motif here. Park it there. And I actually might not be stitching along that edge for a while, so I'll just unthread that for now. I think this one is still threaded, yes, so I might as well stitch it and end it. take a look here because, yeah, I said that, but actually I may end up stitching more along that edge after all. Well, I can thread a needle pretty quick these days, so not a huge deal if I have to rethread again. I'm going to actually loop that color back around. Okay, I think that's as far as that color goes, yeah, so. Oh. But yeah, that's, I think, sort of the last ones I'm going to do along this edge for now, until I've filled in all the way to the bottom of this pass. Yeah, I'll probably get up and bring my garbage cans in. That'll get me moving. So in the end, it made more sense to me to just carry on downwards, and I'll fill in the top bit later. Yeah, you always know when there's been a lot of confetti in a section when I end up with a lot of pin stitches to cover up. Yes, you can see this is where we're starting to, the blue is starting to turn into the orangey colors of the rest of this feather here. so I think what I'm going to do is do these, and then that will be where I call it a day. No idea how many stitches I did on camera because, yeah, like I said, I forgot to check when I started where I was at. Fluff again. There we go. Okay, but a total of 174 minus whatever was at the beginning. Still pretty happy with that. So thank you so much for joining me today, and hope to see you here next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.